Hey everyone, Victorian era here. Today I want to talk about The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. This massive book with more than 1,000 pages tells the story of Edmond Dantes. Born from a poor father at the young age of 19, he already got everything a man can dream of through his hard work. A well-paying job at the port, a beautiful woman he's about to marry, and he was even promised to be the captain of Perron, France's latest and greatest ship ever made. After the job done, Dantes goes home to deliver the good news to his ill father. Danglars, his crewmate, is hatching a plan to get rid of Dantes out of jealousy and hatred. Dantes also met his neighbor Caderus at his house, someone established immediately as someone who doesn't have good intention to Dantes' family, seeing how he treated Dantes' father and his debts. We are then introduced to Mercedes, Dantes' wife to be, and Fernand, the guy who wanted to take Mercedes away from Dantes. These will be the main characters of the first part of this story. Danglars, envious of Dantes' position, Caderus, covetous of Dantes' fortune, Fernand, jealous of Dantes' love. Together they made a plan to paint Dantes as spy. This was during the era where Napoleon was taken down from the throne and fear of his return loomed. So it was taken seriously, and Dantes was taken to prison on his wedding day. He seems to be able to prove himself innocent, but unfortunately to Dantes, a new character named Villefort is going to be his judge. The letter that will prove Dantes innocent is a letter that will prove that Villefort's father is a turncoat. If that letter was found out, his father will be killed and he will lose everything he had, including his high standing. So Villefort conspired to put the blame on Dantes and put him to imprisonment in an island where time seems to stretch to infinity. Only 17 months, replied Dantes. Oh, you do not know what is 17 months in prison. 17 ages rather. Especially to a man who, like me, had arrived at the summit of his ambition, to a man who, like me, was on the point of marrying a woman he adored, who saw an honorable career open before him, and who loses all in an instant, who sees his prospect destroyed, and is ignorant of the fate of his affianced wife, and wherever his aged father be still living. 17 months captivity to a sailor accustomed to a boundless ocean is a worse punishment than human crime ever merited. Have pity on me then. Ask for me not indulgence, but a trial. Not pardon, but a verdict. A trial, sir. I ask only for a trial. That surely cannot be denied to one who is accused. Dantes continues to rot in prison for 6 years, and he was about to give up everything. He abandoned eating in the hope of ending his imprisonment in his body sooner, but he met another prisoner that has been planning his escape named Abbe Faria. Abbe is a very learned old man, and he becomes a teacher to Dantes, and with his help, Dantes learned not only of mathematics, physics, history, politics, and language, but he also helped Edmond learn who are responsible for his imprisonment, which regretfully to him also gave Edmond his desire for revenge. But nevertheless, they become as close as father and son. They were about to finally escape together when Abbe's sickness came up. He was dying from it. In his deathbed, he gave a location to his treasure to Dantes. This also gave Dantes a chance to escape by replacing Abbe's body in the body bag with his own. What he did not know was that the island cemetery is the sea. His feet was tied down to a wake while in the body bag, and he was thrown out to sea. But he survived, of course. And he managed to escape. 14 years he was in prison. For 14 years for a crime he did not commit, from people he considered friends, neighbor, and savior. Then he planned his revenge. After he's free, he took his time to ensure he can get the treasure safely. He became friends with Jacopo on his short stint as a smuggler, and he managed to safely get the Abbe's treasure, which is in such an amount that Edmond said, every day he expatiated on the amount, explaining to Dantes all the good which with 13 or 14 million of francs a man can do in this day to his friends. And then Dantes' countenance became gloomy, for the oath of vengeance he had to take recurred to his memory, and he reflected how much ill in this time a man with 13 or 14 millions could do to his enemies. He then paid all his dues and debt, saved everyone that he loved and was good to him, including Morel. Then he said goodbye to his humanity with a cry. And now, said the unknown, farewell kindness, humanity, and gratitude. Farewell to all the feelings that expand the heart. I have been heaven's substitute to recompense the good. Now the God of vengeance yields to me his power to punish the wicked. At this word he gave a signal, and as if only awaiting the signal, the yacht instantly put out to sea. And this is all way before the halfway point of the story. Everything onward is the part of the Count of Monte Cristo. The revenge part that makes the story so famous. It's the meat of the story. Decades have passed since the start of the story, and now this revenge will involve a lot of innocent people. The next generation that shouldn't have been punished for their parents' crime, and these are all very interesting characters also. Albert, the son of Ferdinand, and Mercedes, Danglars and his wife and daughter, Villefort and his wife, son and daughter. Even other less involved families like France and Morel. The Count is such a great villain character. You can tell that he is involved in every aspect of the story. It's like every event in the book have his hands in it. There's an otherworldliness to him that you can argue that he's a Geristo or Meristo, but the setup of the story at the beginning is done so well that his otherworldliness will deserve. The closest character I can think similar to him is Judge Holden from Blood Meridian. They're so similar in very different ways. Judge Holden embodied disgust and fear, while the Count embodied excellence and awe. Judge Holden is scary too, partly to fear of the unknown, while the Count wears excellence on his sleeve. Judge Holden is very inhuman and the Count is very human. Most people in the story ended up miserable, especially those who become the direct target of the Count's resentment. The Count spent years learning their weakness, both the weakness in their own morality and in the decisions of their life. He combined them to make them go towards a certain path that leads to their own death, as the Count said. Moral wounds have this peculiarity. They may be hidden, but they never close. Always painful, always ready to bleed when they touch. They remain fresh and open in the heart. But while the plot of the story is about a good man losing his own moral compass due to injustice and resentment, the theme of the story itself is about good. Remember Dantes before his betrayal, his father, Morel, Mercedes, and Varia Abe, Jacopo, and everyone else who later helped the Count. I think the Count gone too far in this vengeance and it wasn't resolved properly because most of the plot is already over at the point. But there are a lot of setup that helps us realize that this is where the story is heading, so although the resolution is, I think, a bit weak, the setup helps salvage the payoff a little bit. The book actually foreshadowed this quite early. But, said France to the Count, with this theory, which renders you at once judge and executioner of your own cause, it will be difficult to adopt a course that will forever prevent your failing under the power of the law. Hatred is blind, rage carries you away, and he who pours out vengeance runs the risk of tasting a bitter draught. And France was right, that is what eventually will happen in the story. There are also parts that hasn't aged well, like many stories written in the 1800s. For example, it romanticized romance a bit too much. There are 3 different characters in the story that threatened to end their life if their love was not returned. There are part of the story which clearly is grooming and ew, and a few less glaring flaws in the story themselves that is, if not plot holes, then at least plot convenience. Still, despite those flaws, there is a reason the story inspired so many other stories. Even the look of Count Monte Cristo becomes the look of Castlevania's Dracula instead of, Dracula. Because that's just how imposing he is as a character. The cold black hair, large bright glittering eyes, in which a wild unearthly fire seems burning. The same ghastly paleness. So, basically, Wendy Gun. The book has grown to become one of the most beloved and popular classics. The many themes this story tackles has been repeated so much, and rarely there's any that did it as good as this book. I know that more than 1,000 pages can be too much for most people, but if you can, give this book a try. It lives up to all the hype. For a book this thick, it really nails the pacing of the story. There are rarely any part of the story where it feels like it overstayed its welcome. There is still so much from this book that I haven't touched. Unfortunately, currently I don't have the skill or the setup to tackle it. Maybe if you and I are lucky enough, this Wendy Gun will give it a Wendy Gun. But yeah, that's about it.